Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something, well, pretty unique. Definitely high stakes. It's this concept sitting right at the intersection of crypto, personal security, and even emergency response. We are talking about Transferencia 911. So for this deep dive, we're working off a GitHub repository and a related document, pretty detailed actually, lays out the timeline, who's involved, and our mission today, basically to figure out how the system works, what's the thinking behind it, and what are the implications for your safety, your digital assets. Just try to imagine this. You're in a really critical situation, right? And there's this one single secret action you can take. Protects your funds and calls for help silently. That's the core idea of Transferencia 911, and that's what we're going to unpack. Okay, so let's start right there. At its heart, what is Transferencia 911?
Right. So fundamentally, think of it as a defense system. It's built specifically for Bitcoin users who might face, well, extreme situations, threats. Its main purpose is really twofold. Combine security on the blockchain, verifiable actions, with actual real-world emergency help. The sources are pretty clear. It's designed for things like coercion, kidnapping, direct physical threats, really serious stuff.
The dual nature is, it's striking. It's not just protecting the coins. It's like the act of losing control triggers the help. And you mentioned the alert is silent. Why is that so important here?
Oh, the silent part is absolutely crucial. Yeah. In those high-pressure, coercive moments, any obvious move could make things much worse, right? Escalate the danger. So this system lets a user start the fund transfer and the alert without tipping off the aggressor. Gives them an edge, preserves safety.
Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. So the mechanics, this is where it gets really interesting, doesn't it? How does this panic key actually manage to do both things at once?
It's a really clever setup, actually. So the user configures their wallet beforehand. They designate one specific key as the panic key. Now, if that specific key is ever used to sign a transaction, bang, two things happen instantly, simultaneously. Right. First, the Bitcoin gets automatically sent, redirected to a pre-agreed safe place. A secure wallet, they call it a risk guard address, gets it out of the immediate danger zone. And second, at the exact same moment, this silent signal, this alert, gets generated and sent out. And it doesn't just go to one place. It's designed to reach several different entities. For instance, conceptually, it talks about police APIs, like plugging into 911. The project even has this little simulation tool in the code, 911apistub.py, just to show how that could work. It also mentions sending signals to decentralized nodes, or a panic, DAO. Now, these seem more like future ideas, sort of like a distributed network maybe, or some kind of decentralized group that could verify or pass on the alert, adds resilience. But crucially, it also alerts people you trust, family, guardians, via SMS, email, push notifications. And behind the scenes, there's code handling, the special signing process, an engine to build and send the alerts, integrations for SMS like Twilio, and even tools to try and figure out the device's rough location.
Wow, okay. So it's a multi-layered alert system. Pretty comprehensive. Now, if someone hypothetically wanted to set this up, what do they actually need? What are the practical requirements?
Right. Technically speaking, you'd need Python version 3.11 or newer. Node.js is listed as optional, mostly if you want the UI, the user interface part. For the alerts themselves, you'd need something like a Twilio API key for SMS, or access to an SMTP server if you want email alerts. And for security, network security, they strongly recommend using Tor or a VPN to hide your traffic. And obviously, a device, something that can connect to the internet and handle Bitcoin operations.
Gotcha. So we've covered the how, but what about the why? What's the story behind this? What kind of need sparked this idea, and what does it tell us about, the world some Bitcoin users operate in?
Yeah, the documentation, the part called Conception of the Need, it really emphasizes that this wasn't just an academic exercise. It came from a perceived real need, a demand for serious crypto defense in, well, extreme contexts. It speaks to this feeling of vulnerability, doesn't it? Holding digital assets when facing physical danger. And the philosophy behind it, it's summed up pretty intensely by the main developer, LAEV. There's a quote in the source. He says, "If you are going to die for Bitcoin, at least let it be with style and protection."
Wow. That's quite a statement. Really drives home the stakes involved.
It really does. And the sources list specific scenarios, use cases where they see this being vital. Things like direct physical coercion, that's the most obvious one maybe, but also digital threats like remote attacks on assets. And interestingly, situations involving oppressive governments, concerns about surveillance, seizure. They even mention protecting crypto custodians or leaders, high-profile individuals who might be targets. So these aren't just abstract ideas, they're seen as real weak points where traditional security might just not be enough, making this digital dead man switch seem necessary almost.
Yeah, it's a stark view. But it really shows how something like Transfer911 is pushing the envelope on digital security, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's trying to connect personal autonomy, asset protection, in a world where digital wealth feels increasingly fragile sometimes.
Yeah.
It definitely makes you think about how digital self-defense is evolving. Okay, so speaking of the creator, who are the people behind this? Who are the main players?
Well, the primary architect, the main developer, is known as LAEV. Their GitHub handle is by LAEV. Seems to be the driving force. Then there's this mention of El Cartel de Bitcoiners.
El Cartel?
Yeah, sounds dramatic, right? But the sources describe it as basically an unspecified group, a community of Bitcoin fans. It suggests they either collaborated somehow or maybe served as inspiration for the project. The details aren't really fleshed out, though.
Okay, an inspiration group.
Right. And then you have the other sort of characters in the system's design. Obviously, the Bitcoin user, that's who it's for. Emergency services like 911, they're the target for some alerts, even if it's just simulated right now. Family or guardians, the personal safety net. And then those conceptual decentralized nodes or the panic DAO. The future vision, perhaps, for a more distributed alert network. And importantly, the whole thing is under an MIT license.
Open source.
Exactly. Meaning anyone can basically take it, modify it, use it, improve it. Fosters that community collaboration idea.
That's fascinating, how this really specific, almost extreme security problem in the crypto space has resulted in an open source tool trying to bridge that gap between protecting digital stuff and getting real-world help. It's quite something. So there we have it. That's our deep dive into Transferencia 911. It's clearly a unique approach, isn't it? Tackling a very serious, very pressing problem for some Bitcoin users, blending that advanced blockchain tech with a discrete emergency alert system for really high-stakes moments.
Definitely. And it leaves you wondering, doesn't it, in this world where we're all becoming more digitally vulnerable, what kind of broader responsibilities might emerge for tech developers, maybe, or even for traditional emergency services? How do they adapt to or maybe even integrate these kinds of unconventional ways people are trying to protect themselves and their assets? It's a big question.